Okay everyone, we are here for what I would call officially day one of my dream build, the FTE swap. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be peeling off most of the parts off the cab, getting it stripped down and ready to pull off. So that way we can get to the engine, the gearbox, and then start prepping the chassis before the 100 series shell and FTE go on. Okay, so I made the decision not to film me stripping the car back with bits and pieces that aren't related to the swap. So taking off the bull bar, the rock sliders, the rear bar, all the interior pieces and those sort of things. There's just no point in showing you that. It's got nothing to do with the actual swap itself. So you can see here, I spent probably 10 minutes just pulling out all the dodgy aftermarket wiring as well. So we're gonna skip all of that and get straight into the parts that are relevant to the swap. So the first bit of work that's really relevant to the swap is the bit I'm doing now. So along the top of the firewall there's brake lines that go from the booster across to the other side. We want to retain all of that. Those lines are the right ones to put onto the 100 cab. So I just unbolt that off the cab back to where it's not touching it anymore and it's down to the chassis. So when we lift it up, those lines will stay and we can put them back in place on the 100 cab. Today is the day the cab comes off. So we need to unplug that guy there. We're going to disconnect everything that's attached to the engine. We are going to steal the crash bar from here. That's an important bit. So the crash bar here for the steering column needs to match the chassis of the car that you're putting it on. So you want to keep 105 crash bar for 105 chassis. Other than that, this has all been stripped. We'll need to undo a couple of bits here, which I'll show you how I do that as I figure it out. We've got mounting bolts under here. These guys. We'll get those all done and hopefully the cab comes off today. I'm sort of learning as I go, so if I figure something out as we're doing it, I'll film it and just show you guys what the right thing is. So dropping everything out for the gearbox and transfer case and handbrake was all literally as simple as it looks. There's just a bunch of 10 and 12 mil bolts that need to be undone. The shifter itself lifts off. It's got a split pin to a little shaft to the gearbox. You just pop the pin out and that comes straight out. The surround on the transfer case, when you undo all the bolts, it just lifts off, so there's nothing else attaching it. And the handbrake, you just undo the cable and push it back down underneath the body. There is a couple of weird bolt holes that hold the handbrake cable on, so when we get to that stage. The next bit, and probably the most obvious bit, is all of the body mount bolts. So they sit under a little plastic sort of cover. I think there's maybe 4 or 5 down each side, but it was literally just a matter of getting a breaker on top to hold it and something on a ratchet underneath to undo the bolts, and they all pull out super easy. Okay, so we got this cover off. We're on to the ECU now, so I should be able to unplug that all and push it through the firewall. We'll get on with that bit. Okay, a quick status update. I've just unbolted anything that connected from the chassis to the engine. I've probably actually gone way too far. There's some stuff that doesn't even touch the chassis, but I just wasn't thinking. We get this brake booster off, the brake pedal on the other side unbolts. I took the whole fuse box out just because the guy who's buying this engine, I want to be able to give him as much of the loom as possible. So we're all undone here. And that big hole there, as you can see, you're going to the other side here. That's up the top there. So as we pulled this dash out, everything literally just unplugs and then pulls through that hole, which makes it super simple. So yep, next we'll get underneath this side here. I'm gonna undo the brake pedal. I'm gonna undo the steering shaft. And then we'll get to the gearbox. Anything here that looks like it's gonna get caught up. The transfer case, we'll undo those. And then we'll get underneath and just look for anything else that's attached. Okay, so we'll just do a quick walk around and I'll show you exactly what we've done. So this is where the brake booster ABS system came out. Just down there is where our steering has come out. So we still have the steering box here. I've kept half of the steering shaft. When we're putting that back in, I'll show you which pieces we're keeping out of this car. Main harness has come out of that hole there. I went to a little bit of extra effort just to unplug the fuse box so the guy who gets the car gets as much of the wiring harness as possible. I've just taken everything off the front here. I figure anything that I might need, it's best to hold on to it. And then inside the car, Next episode or tomorrow, we'll be working on getting this shifter out. We'll get the handbrake out. This is what it looks like on this side. Now I'm pretty sure I need to keep this crash bar here. I'm gonna double check with a couple of guys I've been speaking to about the swap. If that's the case, it looks like I have to take the whole dash out. So if I have to, I have to, but I'll see what my options are there and let you guys know what the easiest thing is. And again, over here, I probably stripped out a bit more than I needed to, but I just wanted to make sure we had easy access to everything we needed. So yeah, good progress. No nasty surprises so far. It's looking good. I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna be ending the episode here or whether it's just gonna be day one. I might try and get the cab swap all in one. So I might see you next time. I might be back in 30 seconds. All right, guys, that is day one of the FTE swap officially done and dusted. We made really good progress. So there was probably 4 or 5 hours work I did previously, just stripping off doors and interior, but it's not part of the FTE swap. You don't have to do it. So I figured there was no point in including that in the filming. So today, what I worked on was just the engine bay first. So we've got the brake booster and ABS out, got the brake pedal out, I got the steering shaft out. So I've held onto the steering shaft between the firewall and the slip joint of the steering box because I think I need to reuse that on the other side. And for the time being, I'm actually keeping the whole steering shaft with the rest of the car. Just in case I need something off it, I figure I'm safer to keep more rather than be missing something. Over this side was main harness. So that came out really easy actually. I thought that was gonna be a bit of a nightmare, but we've pulled the interior apart. I'll show you what that looks like. I went to a little bit of extra work and pulled the fuse box out. I did that because the guy's buying the engine. I wanted to be able to give him as much of the existing loom as possible to make it easier for him. So there was some unnecessary things. I started late. I'll tell you what time it is. I think I started at about 10:30. Been working at a leisurely pace. It's 3 o'clock now, so one leisurely day, and I feel like we've made pretty good progress. So next up, I might try and come here tomorrow. We're gonna drop the gear selector out and the transfer case shifter so that we can get those detached from the body. I'm not 100% sure what else I need to do, so I'll just get underneath the car. We'll have a look at anything that's sort of bolted between the chassis and the body, get it undone, and I'm hoping the next full day I get, we can get the cab off. So I'll either be seeing you again in a second, or that'll be it for this episode. I'll let you guys know. Also, just a quick little thing here. I thought I'd bring the bar over that we're using that came off the grey one, the old steel TJM. And just to make sure that there wasn't any issues with the chassis, it hadn't been banged up or anything, I thought I'd test fit it. Everything's slid on with no resistance, so I'm happy that we're relatively straight in the front end. So yeah, we'll get this all pulled apart and the cab off. All right, ladies and gents, we're here on day 2 of the FTE swap. So today's gonna be a short day. I'm just gonna do whatever has to be done to get this cab disconnected and off. So I'll just show you what I find that needs to be unbolted. We'll get the cab off, we'll get the chassis rolled out, and that will be the end of this episode. So let's not mess around, let's get into it. So this bit here obviously required quite a bit of patience. There was a few odds and ends with aftermarket wiring and things that had been connected between the body and the chassis. So it was a fair bit of lift it up a couple of inches, have a look around it, look for anything that's not right, drop it down, disconnect it or cut it off. And I probably repeated that process 4 or 5 times before I was happy. And each time we'd get a little bit higher, just make sure everything was disconnected and we were safe to lift it up. It's obviously better to take your time doing this rather than just going hard lifting and snapping something that's important to the car.
All right. Yes. Oh, we're off. Jesus. There was one more 12mm bolt in a real tricky spot above the petrol tank, below the body, and it was holding the handbrake cable. But I think we're in the clear now. I'm just gonna cut the rest of this aftermarket crap that he put on. Anywhere it looks attached. We're a bit heavy in the back, so I'm gonna be very cautious of that as well. Heads up. I might be able to go a bit higher now. Man, that wasn't too bad. Last thing hanging in there now is just the cruise control. I think we need to keep some of this, so I don't want to damage it. All right, we're separate. Man, that was an effort. All right, I guess I need to get it in neutral now and get it out of here. Just gonna go that way slightly. I might have to connect some stuff back up. Turn those a bit. It's all out of the way. See if we can give her a push and get it moving. Nope, it's not in neutral. Okay, this will be fun. Guessing this pin here, actually L to drive neutral. No, back one. Yep. That's it. A bit of a run up for those ramps. Oh, am I going to be strong enough? Let's see what we can do here. It's my training for today. Yeah. Oh, that was close. We'll get it. Maybe easier to push from back here. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Oh man, that's so cool. This is the biggest project I've ever done. It's mad, I'm so excited. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. I'll get this right out of the way so we can have a walk around it. That's so sick. I'm excited. Yeah. Mad. All right. Just have to give me a moment to get my breath. That's bloody heavy. Okay. Let's see here. So, this is the bit that we're using. And as you can see, it's really not in bad shape. So that's our mounting points. Transmission. Engine and our front end. So we're going to pull that engine out today. Oh, good. It's already had the steering box bracing put in, which is nice. I was saying on my list of things to do. So the guy who wants the engines come in today, so I'm going to start getting these gearbox bolts undone. We'll see if we can crack that off, and he should be able to take that with him today. We won't get underneath this just yet. I want to make sure it's 100% safe before we start stuffing around, but we'll just come around the back here. So I had to take the remote res out of the clamps because that was bolted to the body. There's a couple of plugs at the back here that come undone, just where I think it's tail light wiring that comes off the chassis and into the body. He had some weird aftermarket lighting. The handbrake cable was in a bit of a tricky spot. It was up in here. So it comes up from the back there into that hole. But I'll tell you what, that was a one-person job. I've probably spent about 2 or 3 hours here this morning. So I think if you got some instructions and a bit of an idea what you're doing, it's one day to really strip that off and get the cab off. If you had a second person, you'd really easily do it in a day. But that is a huge relief. This has just got me so excited. Holy shit. I can't believe it. It looks huge now. Anyway, I'm going to get cracking on this gearbox and we can start looking at what I'm going to do to tidy this all up. Okay, so you can see here there's a few of the pieces that I left behind. There's the transmission cooling lines and the brake lines, which are all staying. There's still a little bit of his weird aftermarket wiring in the chassis that we're going to get rid of. There's a light there that stuff's all just going. I want to start blank slate, get it all epoxied and protected, and then we can worry about adding bits and pieces like that. But everything's overall in pretty good condition. The engine mount was completely stuffed, but we had to change those anyway to 1HZ items, so that's fine. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now we'll get it outside and pressure washed. Okay, so I actually put a real lot of time and effort into the pressure washing side of things to make sure that there was absolutely no grease left on it before I started prep for painting. So I did get a paintbrush and some heavy duty degreaser and gave it a good brush down and sort of hit it into all the little gaps. I think I ended up pressure washing it 3 times before I was happy with all the grease being gone off it. So I figure we do this once, we do it right, and it should be happy days. All right, that is day 2 done, and I am very, very happy with our progress. That was a long ass day. All right, ladies and gents, that's day 2 done on the FTE swap. So as you can see, the chassis is out. I've got the cab over there, just sort of holding on to that to see if there's any other bits and pieces I need. I've gone through this and given it a really good pressure clean. The chassis actually looks to be in excellent shape. There's nothing at all that I'm concerned about. There's a couple of hidden bonuses, so I think that'll do it for this episode. Next episode, I'm gonna show you how we're gonna prep the chassis. I'll show you the few extra modifications that I found on it, and I'll probably show you the parts that I've bought that we needed from a 1HZ model that goes on this chassis before we start stripping the other one back. Thanks as always for your support. If you want to buy merch, I've got a YouTube store in the link there. And yeah, see you on the next one.